There are moments in life when the silence of heaven feels louder than any storm. You prayed. You believed. But the door did not open. The answer did not come. The healing did not happen. And in the quietness of your heart, you began to wonder, God, have you forgotten me? Tonight, I want to speak to the soul that is tired of waiting. I want to speak to the heart that is heavy with disappointment. I want to speak to the person who feels stuck between a promise and a miracle. You have called it delay. You have called it rejection. You have called it loss. But what if heaven calls it preparation? What if God is saying to you right now, this delay is part of my greater plan? We live in a world that demands instant answers. We want quick success, quick healing, quick breakthrough. But God does not work according to our clocks. He is not bound by our calendars. He sees the end from the beginning. While you are worried about today, He is already standing in your tomorrow. Some of the greatest blessings in life are born in seasons of delay. A seed buried in the ground may look forgotten, but it is not forgotten, it is growing. Underground, hidden, unseen. And just because you cannot see, it does not mean God is not working. Perhaps you prayed for a door to open and it closed. Perhaps you asked for a relationship to stay and it left. Perhaps you believed for an opportunity and it slipped away. And now you feel confused. But what if that closed door protected you? What if that loss redirected you? What if that delay saved you from something you could not see? God's delays are not God's denials. When He says, wait, it is not because He is powerless. It is because He is purposeful. He is shaping your character. He is strengthening your faith. He is preparing you for something greater than you imagined. Faith is not proven when everything moves quickly. Faith is proven in the waiting. Anyone can praise God when the answer comes immediately, but it takes deep trust to worship when heaven seems silent. It takes courage to say, Lord, I don't understand, but I trust you. You see, delay develops depth. Delay builds endurance. Delay refines your heart. Gold is not purified in comfort, it is purified in fire. And sometimes the fire you are walking through is not meant to destroy you, but to shape you. There are things you asked for last year that you are not ready for today. There are blessings that require maturity. There are miracles that demand preparation. If God gave you everything the moment you asked, you might lose it just as quickly. So in His mercy, He allows the waiting season. Do not measure God's love by your timeline. Measure it by the cross. Measure it by His faithfulness in your past. Think back to the times you thought it was over, yet somehow you made it through. That was not luck. That was not coincidence. That was the hand of God guiding you, even when you did not see Him. Right now, some of you are in the middle of a delay. You feel overlooked. You feel behind. You feel like everyone else is moving forward while you are standing still. But hear this clearly. When God holds you back, it is because He sees a storm ahead. When He slows you down, it is because He is aligning something greater. Your story is not finished. The chapter you are in is not the conclusion. The silence is not the end. It is the pause before the breakthrough. God is not late. He is never late. He is working behind the scenes. He is arranging circumstances. He is moving people. He is preparing doors that no one can shut. And when the time is right, when His perfect timing meets your prepared heart, the blessing will come. So do not give up in the waiting. Do not lose hope in the delay. Lift your head. Strengthen your faith. Trust the one who sees what you cannot see. Because one day you will look back on this season, not with tears of frustration, but with tears of gratitude. You will say, now I understand. The delay was part of His greater plan. And when that day comes, you will realize that every moment of waiting was worth it. There are moments in life when the heavens seem closed and your prayers feel like they rise no higher than the ceiling. You kneel beside your bed, you whisper through tears, you cry out in desperation, and yet there is no thunder, no sudden miracle, no immediate answer. And in that silence, doubt begins to whisper. Has God forgotten me? Has He turned away? Is He even there? But listen carefully to this truth. The silence of God is not the absence of God. Just because you cannot hear Him does not mean He is not speaking. Just because you cannot see Him does not mean He is not working. There are seasons when God seems quiet, but heaven is not inactive. In fact, some of God's greatest works are done in silence. Think of the rising sun. Long before it breaks over the horizon, it is already on its way. The world may still be dark, but dawn is coming. And in the same way, when your life feels covered in shadows, God may already be arranging the light you cannot yet see. We live in a noisy world. We are used to instant replies, quick results, immediate confirmations. But God is not hurried. He is not pressured by your clock or your calendar. He moves with eternal purpose. And sometimes His silence is intentional. Sometimes His quietness is preparation. When a seed is planted deep in the soil, it appears forgotten. It is buried, hidden, surrounded by darkness. But beneath the surface, life is forming. Roots are stretching. Strength is developing. If you dig it up too soon, because you think nothing is happening, you destroy the growth. And sometimes in your life, what feels like burial is actually planting. The silence of God is often the classroom of faith. Anyone can trust when the answers are immediate. Anyone can praise when the miracle is visible. But it takes real faith to say, Lord, even when I cannot hear you, I will trust you. Even when I cannot trace your hand, I will believe your heart. There are battles you never saw that God fought for you. There are dangers you never knew about that He kept from touching your life. There are doors He quietly closed that would have led to pain beyond what you could endure. His silence was not abandonment, it was protection. You may be in a season right now where you feel alone. The job has not come. The healing has not happened. The relationship has not been restored. The answer has not arrived, and the silence feels heavy. But do not interpret God's quietness as His absence. A teacher is often silent during the test, not because the teacher has left the room, but because the student must grow. God's silence may be the very evidence that He trusts you to walk by faith and not by sight. The greatest proof that God has not abandoned you is this: you are still here. You are still breathing. You are still seeking. Something inside you still hopes. That hope did not come from nowhere. It is planted there by a faithful God who has never failed and will not start with you. One day, you will look back at this season of silence and realize that while you thought nothing was happening, everything was being arranged, what felt like emptiness was actually divine activity. What felt like distance was actually closeness in disguise. The silence of God is not the absence of God. It is the sound of Him working in ways too deep, too powerful, and too loving for you to see right now. Trust Him in the quiet. He is nearer than you think. There are doors in life that you prayed would open. You fasted. You believed. You stepped forward in faith. And yet, when you reached for the handle, it did not move. It stayed shut. And the pain of that closed door felt like rejection. It felt personal. It felt final. But what if that closed door was not rejection at all? What if it was rescue? There are moments when God says, no, not to punish you, but to protect you. We often see only what is in front of us. We see the opportunity. We see the relationship. We see the promotion. We see the dream as we imagine it. But God sees the end from the beginning. He sees what is behind the door you are trying to force open. You may be grieving something right now that did not work out. A relationship that ended. A job you did not get. An opportunity that slipped through your fingers. And your heart asks, why, Lord? I prayed about this. I believe this was right. But sometimes what feels good is not God's best. Sometimes what looks promising carries pain you cannot yet recognize. There are storms you have been spared from that you never knew were forming. There are traps you never fell into because God quietly blocked your path. There are heartbreaks that would have shattered you beyond repair had He allowed you to walk through that door. When a parent pulls a child back from stepping into a busy street, the child may cry. The child may not understand, but the parent sees the speeding car. In the same way, God sees what you cannot see. His vision is eternal. Yours is limited to the moment. Delay can be divine protection. Rejection can be redirection. Closed doors can be shields of mercy. The truth is, not every opportunity is a blessing. Not every open door is from God. And not every closed door is a loss. Sometimes God closes a door because it leads to compromise. Sometimes He shuts it because it would have distracted you from your true calling. Sometimes He blocks it because He has something greater ahead. You may not understand it now. The pain may still feel fresh. The disappointment may still sting. But trust this, if God has closed a door, He did it with purpose. He did it with love. He did it seeing a bigger picture than you can comprehend. There are people you thought you could not live without who are no longer in your life. And though it hurt deeply, you are still standing. Perhaps their absence was God's protection. There are paths you desperately wanted to walk that were suddenly cut off. And though you felt lost, perhaps that detour saved you from destruction. God does not delight in your disappointment, but He is deeply committed to your destiny. He is more concerned with your eternal good than your temporary comfort. And sometimes protection feels painful before it feels purposeful. One day, you may look back and thank God for the very door you once begged Him to open. You may realize that what you thought was your breakthrough would have been your breakdown. You may see that what felt like rejection was divine intervention. When God says, "Not this," it is because He has something better. When He says, "Wait," it is because timing matters. When He says, "No," it is because His love is stronger than your desire. So do not curse the closed door. Do not lose faith in the waiting. The same God who shuts doors also opens new ones at the right time. And when He does, you will understand that what felt like loss was actually protection wrapped in grace. Faith is easy when the answer comes quickly. It is easy to praise when the miracle happens overnight. It is easy to testify when the breakthrough arrives without delay. But real faith, deep, unshakable, heaven-rooted faith, is not formed in moments of instant victory. It is formed in the waiting. There is something about waiting that tests the soul. When you have prayed and nothing changes, when you have believed and the situation remains the same, when you have stood on the promise and the storm still rages, that is where faith is stretched. That is where it either weakens or grows stronger. Waiting strips away shallow belief. It removes the kind of faith that depends only on visible results. In the waiting season, you are forced to decide, do I trust God only when I see movement? Or do I trust Him even when everything seems still? Anyone can walk by sight. The world does that every day. But walking by faith means trusting what you cannot see. It means believing that God is working even when there is no evidence in front of you. It means holding on to His word when your circumstances contradict it. When a muscle is stretched, it becomes stronger. When it is never used, it becomes weak. In the same way, faith that is never tested remains shallow. But faith that endures delay becomes powerful. It becomes steady. It becomes unmovable. You may be in a waiting season right now. The answer has not come. The promise has not unfolded. The door has not opened. And everything in you wants to give up. But it is in this very moment that your faith is being built. God is not ignoring you. He is developing you. The waiting room of life is not a place of punishment. It is a place of preparation. It is where God teaches you to rely on Him completely. When every other support is removed, when every visible solution disappears, you learn to lean on Him alone. There are prayers you prayed months ago, even years ago, that still seem unanswered. And in that delay, doubt tries to creep in. It whispers, maybe God will not do it. But faith speaks louder. Faith says, even if I do not see it yet, I know He is faithful. Faith is not a feeling. It is a decision. It is choosing to trust when emotions fluctuate. It is choosing to believe when circumstances shake. It is choosing to stand when everything around you tells you to sit down in defeat. Waiting purifies your motives. It reveals whether you want the blessing more than you want the blesser. It reveals whether your trust is in the gift or in the giver. And when you learn to love and trust God more than the answer you are seeking, your faith becomes mature. Some of the strongest believers are not those who received immediate miracles, but those who endured long seasons of silence and still declared, I will trust Him. Their faith is not based on speed, it is based on character. It is rooted in the unchanging nature of God. The waiting season may feel long, but it is not wasted. Every day you continue to trust. Every night you continue to pray. Every moment you refuse to give up. Your faith is growing deeper roots. And roots that grow deep can withstand storms. One day, when the answer finally comes, you will realize that the greatest miracle was not just the blessing itself, but the faith that was built inside you while you waited. There is a truth we often forget in our desire for quick success and instant elevation. Preparation always comes before promotion. We want the crown, but we resist the training. We want the platform, but we avoid the process. Yet God, in His wisdom, never promotes a person He has not first prepared. You may be praying for greater influence, greater responsibility, greater blessing. You may be asking God to take you higher, to open larger doors, to entrust you with more. But before He lifts you up, He works deep within you. Because if your character does not match your calling, your promotion can become your downfall. God is more concerned about who you are becoming than where you are going. The hidden seasons of life are not wasted seasons. They are shaping seasons. When no one sees your faithfulness, when no one applauds your obedience, when no one recognizes your quiet integrity, that is when God is building strength in your soul. The world may overlook you, but heaven is watching closely. It is in obscurity that humility is formed. It is in difficulty that endurance is strengthened. It is in disappointment that patience takes root. And without these qualities, promotion can destroy what pride begins. Think about it. If God answered every ambitious prayer the moment you prayed it, would you be ready to handle it? Would your heart remain steady? Would your faith remain grounded? Or would success pull you away from the very one who gave it? Preparation often feels like delay. It feels like being overlooked. It feels like being stuck. But you are not stuck. You are being shaped. God is refining your motives. He is teaching you to serve before you lead. He is teaching you to remain faithful in small things before He entrusts you with greater things. When a builder constructs a tall building, the foundation must go deep. The taller the structure, the deeper the foundation. And if God intends to lift you high, He will first take you deep. Deep in character, deep in faith, deep in dependence on Him. Many people desire promotion, but few embrace preparation. Preparation requires surrender. It requires patience. It requires obedience when no reward is visible. But that unseen work is what sustains visible success later. God's promotions do not come from striving. They come from readiness. And readiness is formed in the quiet places of growth. It is formed when you choose integrity over compromise. It is formed when you choose prayer over pride. It is formed when you remain faithful even when you feel forgotten. Do not despise your current season. Do not resent the small beginnings. Do not grow bitter because others seem to be advancing faster. God's timing for your promotion is tied to your preparation. And He knows exactly when you are ready. If He were to lift you before your character is strengthened, the weight of the blessing could crush you. But when He promotes you after preparation, you will stand firm. You will not be shaken by praise. You will not be destroyed by pressure. The waiting, the training, the refining, it is all part of His loving plan. He is not withholding greatness from you. He is preparing you to sustain it. And when the moment of promotion finally arrives, it will not be by accident. It will be the result of a heart-shaped, tested, and made ready by God Himself. We live by clocks. We measure our lives in seconds, minutes, years. We set deadlines. We circle dates on calendars. We grow anxious when something does not happen according to our schedule. And when God does not move as quickly as we expect, we begin to wonder if He is late. But God has never been late, not once. What feels delayed to you is perfectly aligned in eternity. What feels overdue in your timeline is unfolding exactly as it should in His divine plan. We see only the present moment, but God stands outside of time. He sees the beginning and the end at the same time. He knows what must happen before the blessing arrives. Impatience is natural to the human heart. When you have prayed and waited, when you have believed and hoped, you want the answer now, you want relief now, you want clarity now. But God is not driven by urgency. He is guided by purpose. There are pieces that must fall into place before the promise can be fulfilled. There are people who must be positioned. There are circumstances that must align. There are lessons that must be learned. And until everything is ready, God waits, not because He is slow, but because He is precise. If a farmer plants a seed and demands fruit the next day, he will be disappointed. Growth takes time. Seasons cannot be rushed. The seed must break open. Roots must grow deep. The plant must push through the soil. And only then does fruit appear. In the same way, your life unfolds in seasons. Sometimes we ask God for blessings that require maturity we have not yet developed. We pray for influence, but have not yet learned humility. We pray for success, but have not yet mastered discipline. We pray for open doors, but are not yet prepared to walk through them wisely. So in His mercy, God allows time to shape us. What you call delay may actually be development. There have been moments in your life when something did not happen when you wanted it to. At the time, you felt disappointed. But later, you looked back and realized that if it had happened earlier, you would not have been ready. You were not the same person then that you are now. Time changed you. Time strengthened you. Time prepared you. God's timing is never accidental. It is never careless. It is never random. It is intentional and exact. He knows the right moment when your heart is ready, when your character is steady, when your faith is strong enough to handle the blessing without losing sight of Him. The danger of receiving something too early is that you may not value it. The danger of stepping into something too soon is that you may mishandle it. But when God releases a blessing at the appointed time, it carries peace with it. It carries clarity. It carries strength to sustain it. Do not compare your timeline with someone else's. Their season is not your season. Their journey is not your journey. God is writing a unique story with your life, and He is not in a hurry. He is crafting something lasting, something meaningful, something eternal. When the right time comes, doors will open that no one can shut. Opportunities will appear that no one can block. And you will realize that every moment of waiting was not wasted. It was necessary. God is never early. He is never late. He is always right on time. There are tears you have cried that no one else has seen. There are nights you have lain awake, staring into the darkness, wondering why the pain had to come your way. There are disappointments that cut so deeply you thought you might never recover. And in those moments, it is easy to believe that your pain is meaningless, that your suffering is random, that your heartbreak serves no purpose. But hear this truth: with all your heart, your pain has a purpose. We do not naturally welcome suffering. We resist it. We pray against it. We ask God to remove it immediately. Yet throughout life, pain becomes one of the greatest tools God uses to shape us, not to destroy us, not to abandon us, but to refine us. Gold is not purified in comfort. It is purified in fire. The heat that seems unbearable is the very thing that removes impurities. In the same way, the trials you face are not meant to consume you, but to cleanse and strengthen your faith. You may not understand why the loss happened. You may not understand why the door closed, why the relationship ended, why the opportunity disappeared. But God wastes nothing. Not a single tear falls to the ground unnoticed. Not a single moment of suffering escapes His awareness. Pain has a way of humbling us. It reminds us that we are not in control of everything. It draws us closer to God when pride once kept us distant. In times of comfort, we often rely on ourselves. In times of brokenness, we learn to rely on Him. Some of the most compassionate hearts are born out of deep sorrow. When you have walked through grief, you understand the grieving. When you have experienced rejection, you learn how to comfort the rejected. When you have endured failure, you gain the wisdom to guide others through their struggles. Your pain becomes a bridge to someone else's healing. There are lessons you learn in suffering that you will never learn in ease. Patience grows in hardship. Endurance is formed in pressure. Character is strengthened in adversity. And through it all, God is shaping you into someone deeper, stronger, and more dependent on Him. It may feel unfair. It may feel overwhelming. But pain is not proof that God has left you. Sometimes it is proof that He is working in ways you cannot yet see. Just as a sculptor chips away at stone to reveal a masterpiece, God allows certain trials to shape you into the person He created you to be. Your scars tell a story. They are reminders that you survived what tried to break you. They are evidence that God carried you through moments you thought would crush you. And one day, those scars will speak hope to someone who believes they cannot make it through their own storm. The suffering you are facing today may become the testimony that strengthens someone tomorrow. The valley you are walking through may prepare you for a higher mountain ahead. And when you look back, you may realize that the very pain you begged God to remove was the tool He used to transform you. Pain is never pleasant. But in the hands of a loving God, it is never pointless. There are moments in life when you feel overlooked. You have prayed. You have fasted. You have believed. You have given your heart fully to God. And yet, it seems as if nothing is happening. The door does not open. The answer does not come. The miracle does not arrive. And in that quiet, heavy moment, your soul begins to wonder, have I been forgotten? Does God even see me? But listen carefully. Being overlooked does not mean being abandoned. Being delayed does not mean being denied. Sometimes God's hand is moving so subtly behind the scenes that the human eye cannot perceive it. What you call being forgotten is often God's preparation. What you call being left behind is often God's positioning. And what you call delay is often part of His perfect plan. There is a story in every life that God is writing, and every page matters. He never skips a line. He never overlooks a detail. The moments that feel insignificant, the days that feel wasted, the prayers that seem unanswered, they are all part of the divine story that He is composing. Even when you cannot see it, He is working. Even when you feel stuck, He is moving. Even when the world ignores you, heaven has not. You may be surrounded by people who seem to be advancing faster than you. Doors may open for them that remain closed for you. Opportunities may come their way that never appear on your path. And the temptation is to compare, to complain, to lose faith. But comparison is a thief of joy. It blinds you to the unique plan God has for your life. It ignores the fact that His timing is never wrong and His purpose is never delayed. God sees your heart. He knows your struggles. He understands your dreams. And He is orchestrating circumstances in ways that you cannot yet comprehend. Sometimes He delays not because He is unwilling, but because He is preparing you to fully receive the blessing when it comes. Timing is crucial, and a blessing received too soon can be wasted, mishandled, or even become a stumbling block. Faith grows in the waiting. Patience strengthens in the silence. Hope is tested when nothing seems to change, and those who trust God during seasons of delay will emerge stronger, wiser, and more prepared for the responsibility of what He has promised. It is in the overlooked moments that character is formed. It is in the delayed answers that trust deepens. It is in the waiting that the heart learns to rely fully on Him. You may feel small, unnoticed, forgotten by the world. But God never forgets. He has placed you exactly where you need to be for the moment. He is aligning people, preparing paths, and arranging blessings that no one else can see. What seems like delay is actually design. What seems like neglect is actually nurture. What seems like being overlooked is actually being prepared for greatness beyond what you can imagine. So do not despise the waiting. Do not resent the silence. Do not despair in the delay. Lift your eyes to the heavens and trust the one who sees every tear, hears every prayer, and knows the perfect time to act. One day, you will look back and see that every moment of being overlooked was a moment of preparation, and every delay was part of God's greater plan. As we come to the close of this message, hear this clearly. The delays you face, the doors that remain closed, the prayers that seem unanswered, are not signs that God has abandoned you. Every moment of waiting, every season of silence, every trial and heartbreak is part of His greater plan. He is shaping you, strengthening you, preparing you for the blessing that is coming. What feels like emptiness today is actually fullness in disguise. What feels like disappointment is actually divine redirection. Your faith, your patience, and your trust are being refined so that when the breakthrough comes, you are ready to receive it without fear, without compromise, and without doubt. Remember, God's timing is perfect. He is never early, never late, and always purposeful. The storms you endure, the struggles you face, and the seasons of waiting are all tools in His loving hands to build character, endurance, and a heart fully dependent on Him. One day, when the doors open and the answers arrive, you will realize that every tear, every delay, every unanswered prayer was not wasted. It was working together for your ultimate good. Trust Him, hold fast to hope, and know that His plan is greater than anything you could imagine.